What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to JJD TV. I'm your host, Josh, and we're doing something new this week. Hopefully, you guys like the idea. This is basically going to be a weekly Canadian men's national team transfers update discussion stream that we're going to do pretty much weekly until the transfer window comes to a close. So, if you guys like talking about some of the news that's coming on, this will be a fun place to do it. Hopefully, maybe get on some guests as well coming up, but I just got the idea today and figured, you know what? There's been a lot to break down, especially with the Marc-Anthony Kaye signing. Well, the Marc-Anthony Kaye potential news, which I thought was a pretty cool topic. Pelsuelo's moving on. We got Pepple linked up as well. So there's a lot of cool stuff to talk around. So it's basically something we're going to do once a week. So if you guys have any questions on any of the news regarding anything, I can usually give an opinion on something, but mainly around the Canadian men's national team players with their new deals and whatnot. This is a perfect place to ask it. So, yeah, this is basically just to interact with you guys. Like I said, hopefully a couple guests will come on from time to time, but there's some three or four major talking points I want to get on today. One was the Marc-Anthony Kaye is a big one. I think that's one that's really going to intrigue a lot of people. So I want to get your guys' thoughts and opinions on it as well. If you think it's going to happen, if you don't, would you like to see him return to TFC, a romantic little return? Their TFC is doing a little bit of business here. Ugbo is another interesting one. I mean, I assumed that Twa was going to keep him, and right now he's basically returned to Genk and has been told that you need to find a new club, him and a couple other players as well. And then, of course, Pepple, who's been lighting up the CPL, getting some interest. Luton Town was an interesting one, the Hatters I've heard, so we'll get into all that, but let's throw it over to you guys. We'll get in the chat. So if you're just joining us on our new mini-series throughout the summer here, just a nice little live stream, be sure to drop a like on the stream, guys. And, yeah, get your thoughts and opinions in. And that's the number one question I want to ask you guys. Thoughts on Kaye to TFC? Let me know. Do you think it's a good move for this stage in his career? Would you like to see him stay in Colorado, go somewhere else? It's probably the last chance he'll have to go to Europe. He's 27 years old. So if he's going to TFC, I'm assuming he's going to be probably playing the MLS the rest of his career, though. It looks probably a little unlikely that he may be going anywhere else anyways. Luke Price says, let's go. Kaye to TFC would be great. I think it'd be romantic more than anything. I think it would be useful. I think with Pelsuelo being there in the direction that Bob Bradley was going, he didn't really fit the mold. And I think sacrificing him, especially if they bring in Bernardeschi, they have Insigne. I mean, it screams a 4-3-3 to me. You got Jimenez through the middle. You have Bernardeschi on one wing, Insigne in the other wing. You bring in a guy like Marc-Anthony Kaye. You got Bradley, Marc-Anthony Kaye, Osorio. That's a pretty tasty midfield three. You got that 4-3-3. So I think the Pelsuelo move is it's a pretty good deal for TFC to get a player that's running low on a contract. He's on DP money. He opens up a spot, an international spot, and then Inter Miami is getting one heck of a player. So, yeah, I think Kaye would be a pretty ideal player to bring into that. If they do go with that 4-3-3 system, I think that he'd be a nice little fit there. Luke Price says, I hope that Ugbo stays in Ligue 1. I do as well. I think if it's up to me, I've heard a couple of rumors, but again, guys, don't take them with take it with a grain of salt. I mean, I assumed Ugbo was going to stay in Ligue 1. I think I'd like to see him stay there. He's found some success there. I don't really want to see him return to England and play in the championship because I'm assuming that's the level that we're looking at him. I think he should explore playing internationally. I've heard a Turkish link as well, which, I mean, those don't mean a whole lot of anything. But, I mean, I think he could find a decent club in Turkey to do well in. And then my dream would be to see him maybe go to the Bundesliga. But I'm not sure exactly what type of club would be interested in Ugbo. I'm looking at Ligue 1. I think there's a couple teams that could potentially use a player like him. I mean, this is me dreaming and speculating, but I mean, Lille, if you look at some of Lille's signings right now under Fonseca, they're pretty big downgrades considering who they've had before. I mean, they still need a backup striker for Jonathan David. He's the only recognized striker at Lille. You could bring in Ike Ugbo, who has had success in a very defensive Twa side. So there could be, something there, but I'm hoping that Ligue 1 will be the destination for Ugbo. But let me know where you would like to see him potentially go as well. JDD TV fan says, hello, how you doing, my friend? What's up, Josh? How you doing, my man? I'm doing good. Excited to talk. Man, it's a good time to be a fan of Canadian men's national team players. They're finding some pretty good transfers overseas. They're finding some interesting ones even at home. I mean, over the past 48 hours, if you follow the MLS at all, this has been a whirlwind of transfer news with Pelsuelo going to Inter Miami, Bernardeschi coming in. You have Insigne getting ready for his first game, which has now been pushed back to, I think, July 27th or that. And now Marc-Anthony Kaye returning home from the Rapids. You got Pebble as well, which we haven't even got into, but and we did have this news. So this news is interesting. It's thoughts on Eustaquio staying at Porto. So this news story came out a while ago. I reported on it. A few others did as well. That they activated his clause and he signed basically until 2027. Like I don't know if this is just like the official announcement, but I mean we definitely talked about this. But I mean this is massive for Stefan Eustaquio. He took a bit of a risk at the end of last year, moving on from Passos, where he was playing every single minute of every single game, to Porto, where let's be honest, he barely played. But that Porto team was unbelievable. It was a very, very talented team. And guess what? What happens with clubs like Porto when they have a really, really talented team? Some of the younger talented players get moved on. So that some of that midfield has already left Porto. So I think offering or buying Eustaquio and then giving him a deal to 2027 means that he's going to play a big part. And you've noticed that in a few like promotional graphics with Porto, they've been pushing Eustaquio. They even made a video asking him to basically say, if you're Canadian, because they know that us Canadians are getting into the sport. If you're Canadian, you support me, you support Porto. It's a trade-off. So I think that's really, really good news for Eustaquio, and I think that he will be probably a starter. I mean, maybe it's a bold claim by me, but I don't know. If you read between the lines, I think that it's gonna look likely. I didn't know that Ugbo played for Canada. He did. I mean, I think he's got Nigerian parents. He basically grew up in England. He played for England at youth level. He spent 4 years, I think, just the cusp. I think between he was like 4 and 8 in Canada, and that gave him, gave him the ability to commit. So yeah, I mean, yeah, he does play for Canada. He's played a few games, and he's looking for a club, because the news with Ugbo is that he has returned from loan at Troyes, and Genk have told him, hey, we don't want you. You're not in our plans. You didn't have a good 6 months here. So find a new club. So that's going to be an interesting story to see where Ugbo ends up, especially because when he did go on loan at the end of last season, he had a pretty good experience helping Troyes survive relegation, and he scored, I think, 5 goals, 14 appearances. Having Kaye and Osorio with potentially JR, MR, and Insigne would be killer attacking midfield. Yeah, well, I mean, you'd assume if Pozuelo that he's left, that Bernardeschi would come in. So I'm not sure where JMR would fit. I just assume maybe give him the right back instead of Thompson. I don't really know, because I'm picturing a 4-3-3, man. Like Osorio, Kaye, Bradley, your 3-man midfield, Bernardeschi on one wing and Insigne on the other, and then Jimenez up front. But I mean, at wing back, I mean, maybe if you can turn it into a 3-4-3, something like that. But yeah, he definitely could be an opportunity for him. Great move from Marc-Anthony Kaye and TFC. It would be. And like I said, Pozuelo almost seemed like he just couldn't fit in. They weren't playing with a system where an attacking midfielder was going to be a focal point. Pozuelo doesn't have any defensive abilities to his game, so playing in a 3-man midfield was difficult to do. Playing on the wing, playing as a right mid, it just seems like a good move. I think that he's going to be able to find a good home at Inter Miami. I think he's going to continue on to be the good player in the MLS that he is. And it gives Bradley the ability to bring in a new DP. Salcedo has also been linked out the door. I still think I tweeted this out earlier. I don't know if anyone saw it, but I'm pretty sure if you go to Carlos Salcedo on says he's on Athens. So I mean, it's Wikipedia. Anyone can. Okay, so now that's also changed. So, yeah, so people are just screwing around, but it does look like he's going to leave regardless. I assume he'd go back to Mexico. But if TSC loses a prospect for him, it's a bad move. TSC should spend cash. Yeah, I mean, someone tossed out, and I don't remember who it was. Someone tossed out Akinola. So I thought that was very interesting. I think Colorado said basically they want a young player. There's a few players on TFC who you could obviously sacrifice. I mean, there's always that magic money that you can have some fun with, but yeah. So I mean, I don't really know if it's going to be some allocation money. It's going to be a player. Akinola, I think, would be an interesting move, but they just picked up Zardes. So yeah, I don't really know. But let me know in the comments, guys. Give me a rating out of 10. What do you guys say if Kaye goes to Toronto FC out of 10? How good of a move do you rate it? As Canucks Hub is here and says, I badly need a David update. Your David update, man. I mean, things were very, very quiet with Jonathan David. And I kind of thought that made sense with Fonseca coming in, that David basically stated, hey, I want to go to one of the biggest teams. And just, I guess, for him, nothing really happened. And then all of a sudden these Bayern links started coming out, and all you Canadian men's national team fans, we started dreaming, and then, you know, not much since then has happened. So I don't know. The Bayern one's interesting because for a piece like David to be moved, it's a lot of money for a young kid, very different striker. Lewandowski first has to move. So the Lewandowski deal, if you guys have followed it, you can probably assume, hey, it looks difficult. And if it does happen, there's no guarantee that David's going to be the guy. I'd assume like a team like AC Milan, Juve, Napoli, like that's the type of caliber he'll be looking for. And if that doesn't happen, then maybe he just stays for another season. Which I stated quite a few times, I don't think it's that bad of a thing. This isn't going to be the same Lille side. Gaultier is a good manager. Jocelyn Gourvenic was not a good manager. He was a manager who should be in charge of a team like Troyes, a team that should be fighting for relegation, not a team that just won the title. So getting someone like Fonseca back in here, hopefully replenishing the squad a little bit, will give them a better chance. But I think Jonathan David will have a decent opportunity to thrive before the World Cup. He'll play, he'll get minutes, hopefully he'll score, work on that consistency, and then he'll get his move. But yeah, the update right now, man, I don't know. Besides that little Bayern, something that's been kind of quiet now. Honestly, I think Kaye's one of those players who doesn't really need a European move. He's in his prime. He's one of the best players in MLS. He's well-established in the Canadian system. Yeah, I agree. I don't think Kaye needs a move to Europe, and I think if it was going to come, it was going to come before the Rapids move. I think he's content playing the MLS. I think that it's still a good level. I have a lot of respect for the MLS. I think it's created a lot of very good players, especially through our national team, has helped a lot. So, yeah, I agree. I don't think Kaye needs that move. I think that he would be very interested maybe in returning to TFC, see what's going to happen here under this new squad with players like Lorenzo Insigne. It's still a young group, but I mean, he's going to be an important player. Besides Eustaquio, I mean, Hutchinson is 39 years old. Marc-Anthony Kaye is the other piece of that midfield that will more than likely see minutes. So we want him to be playing, at a good level. I'm fine with him staying at the Rapids. I think it'd be cool to see a little homecoming to Toronto, but I'm not really 100% sure what's going to happen with him. But it's been, I mean, Michael Singh has reported on it. I think I saw it in a Twitter space today that he hasn't heard anything of it. So it was Stephen Cadwell who broke the news, and I heard some things on it as well. It wasn't 100% confirmed, and I mean, Singh's usually a pretty good insider as well. So he said he hasn't heard anything about it, but it's obviously something that maybe they're interested in. So I'll have to keep an eye on it. What is your dream transfer for any Canadian men's national team player? That's a good one. Let me know, guys, in the comments. That's a good question. What is your dream transfer for any Canadian men's national team player? I mean, for me, I have to probably look at David. Because like I said, Eustaquio, great. I love where he's playing. Davies isn't going to move. Laryea, I think, got a pretty good move. I'm personally pretty happy with the move to Club Brugge. I would maybe like to see Tejan join up in the Bundesliga. So I don't know. I think it'd probably be David, and then I'm pretty picky on where I'd want him to go. In the Bundesliga, like I said, the only team that can afford him / could use him would be Bayern, so that would be a good one. Don't want to see him go to the Prem. There's not really a fit in La Liga, in my opinion. He's not going to stay in Liga. So the other obvious one would be the Serie A, and I think like a Juve move would be decent too. They play in that 4-4-2 system. They have a big man in Vlahovic. They just lost Paulo Dybala. To me, like tactically, I think that could be a good fit. I don't think the dream to Inter is kind of off the table. Dybala's linked there. They have Lukaku just came back. They still have Ndieco. And then there's AC Milan, but they play in that lone striker. So, I mean, probably David to Bayern or Juve. I don't know. It's difficult. It's an interesting type of player. But let me know what would your dream transfer be. The other one would be Tejan going to like a Leverkusen. I think that would be the next step for Tejan. Like a good club in the Bundesliga. Maybe if Leipzig want to dip their toes into a little bit more North American talent, they could take a look at him. But I would rather Kaye be one of the best midfielders in the MLS rather than riding the bench in Europe. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, you guys said it in the comments as well. I don't think Kaye is desperate for a European move, and I don't think he probably will get one. Not that he wouldn't want one or deserves one, but I just don't think it's probably on the cards. I think somewhere in the MLS is. Because remember, he just moved, man. He had a lot of success at LAFC. Like, a lot of success. He was a very, very good player there. Moved over to the Rapids in what I thought was kind of a weird move. I think the Rapids, in my opinion, had a very lucky season. I didn't think on paper that, not lucky, that's not fair. That team on paper probably well overachieved, and probably wouldn't have been unrealistic to think that they couldn't replicate that form. They just don't have a lot of money to put in their squad, and they're just one of those teams who went from a brutal season to a really good season. Now it's probably looking like an average season. So I thought that was a surprise that Kaye would want to leave California for Colorado, and looking at the two teams. But I mean, hey, returning to Toronto, I'm assuming is going to be a potential option for him. What leagues outside of the top 5 do you feel are good leagues for developing Canadian national team players if they're guaranteed starters in their clubs? For me, personally, the Netherlands and Belgium probably go 1-2. Netherlands 1 because I think it's a quality league, and there's a lot of openings there. Obviously, it's top heavy. PSV, Ajax, Feyenoord, those are your main hitters. But like, other than that, like, there are some good teams, like 20 in the team as well. It could be a decent side. The Dutch league for me would be the number 1. You see Americans go there all the time. You even see some Mexican players go there, like Lozano was there. It's a good league at developing talent. I think Belgium's good as well. Turkey's pretty decent. So is Portugal. Portugal's a really good league. So it's kind of like those 4 pop out to me. But I would, if you ask me for one, like main, those are 4, but one main one for me, I'd say probably the Netherlands. LAFC got $1 million in an international spot for Kaye. They did, because Canadians count as an international spot in the MLS, which I think is ridiculous. But yeah, like LAFC. I mean, Bob Bradley's one of the type of managers who doesn't care when things aren't going well. Like, he will ship you out. Like, he had Walker Zimmerman, who he shipped out. He had Kaye, who he shipped out. He is not afraid to get rid of players. Salcedo's only played a handful of games, and it already looks like he's gonna get pumped to the door. Kaye played some really, really good football under Bob Bradley. So I think there's a chance that like that reconnection makes sense, but we're gonna have to wait and see. If you guys are just joining us, be sure to drop a like on the stream, guys. I'm looking to do this once a week. It's just a Canadian men's national team transfers roundup with you guys. Take questions, talk about the news, and hopefully get some guests on as well, and do this until the transfer window ends, because there's been a lot of movement, and there's been some players who are still linked. Some of the biggest names for me who need moves. Richie Laryea is more than likely going to be loaned out somewhere. I don't know where. Maybe a Belgium, a Netherlands, or a championship team. Daniel Henry needs to find a club, and then Ike Ugbo needs to find a club. So like, and then there's got like your Atakubi. Like, there's some other names out there that are going to potentially keeping an eye on, and some young players like Pepple as well. I mean, I thought that was a pretty cool link, man. A player from the CPL linked to a championship caliber team, a team that just lost out in promotion to the Premier League. Don't know how much legs there are to it, but it was something that was floating around my Twitter sphere today. A potential Kaye move to Toronto would be an 8.7 out of 10. You're specific. I like that. He's a much-needed addition to the midfield, especially with Pozuelo leaving and Bernardeschi coming in. Yeah, like I said, to me, it screams a 4-3-3. It does, but like a balanced 4-3-3. You can't really stick Pozuelo in that 4-3-3 and expect to have the same type of input. A 3-man midfield, like, Kaye's got abilities getting in the attack as well on the defensive side of things. I mean, a lot of the times he plays a defensive midfielder for Canada in like that 4-4-2. I kind of see Kaye as an 8. So I think having Bradley, Kaye, Osorio, that's a really balanced midfield. 2 proper Italian wingers, Jimenez up front. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. So I think it would be a good move. Right now, I mean, I guess you put Nobukello, I guess, in the midfield for right now if you're going to rock that 4-3-3, or you still go with the 4-4-2. I don't really know. Bob Bradley will have a lot to think about when he gets these new additions. Does Marc-Anthony Kaye moving to Toronto FC change his status within the national team? Don't think it makes a difference, really. Colorado, TFC, both good teams, the bottom half of the MLS. Yeah, I would say it makes 0 difference. As long as he plays, because Kaye's a pretty well locked-on starter for the Rapids. You've seen him mostly in the midfield, kind of moving up a little bit to that dual cam. I think he's done a pretty decent job. I think he's always been a really good MLS player. He was good at LAFC. He was good at the Rapids. I'd assume if he goes back to Toronto, I think he'd be pretty good there as well. So I don't think him moving within the MLS, doesn't matter what team, would make any difference. I really don't. At the time, like not that long ago, I thought the Rapids would have been the worst landing destination for almost any player in the MLS. So they definitely overachieved, but they're kind of, falling back to earth a little bit. But thoughts on the lad from Calgary moving to Luton? Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know how much. I haven't dug too deep on that. I saw a couple links, but I mean, he's been incredible this season. He's come out of absolutely nowhere. He's taken the CPL by storm. Very talented kid. I think we're going to do a feature on it on One Soccer. Can't remember. I remember Jake Jenkins was bringing it up, but yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, like I think that'd be such a cool move. A player who just literally came out of nowhere. Like he wasn't really starting at the beginning of the season. He was with Calvary before he left. He's come back. He's now just basically becoming a player who's developing, and that's what this league's about. I'd be hesitant to see if he would start. I think if he got the move to Luton and then was maybe loaned out somewhere, maybe even in like League One in the English pyramid, I think that would potentially be a good little fit for him. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm excited about it. I mean, anyone who gets linked from the CPL to the English Championship, that's a big win for the league, a big win for the player. And I bet he's going to back himself. He's in incredible form right now. So we'll have to wait and see. Audrey says David to Inter would be his dream Canadian national team transfer. It's not a bad shout. I don't think it's realistic anymore. Just like I said, I mean, it looks like they're going to sign Dybala. They already have Lukaku, who they just brought back. They gave him the number of the amount they ripped Chelsea off, rocking number 90. Who else have they got? I mean, they still have Eustaquio. They still have Lautaro Martinez. Like, unfortunately for Dave, I think he missed that train. But I think the Juve train should be realistic, man. Like, you think about it. They played mostly in that 4-4-2. They lost Dybala. They lost Bernardeschi. They don't really have someone to play up front unless they're switching shape. And I think a player like Jonathan David could really complement Vlahovic in that 4-4-2 system if Allegri still goes with that. So, to me, that one on paper looks pretty nice. I mean, we just saw Jonathan David shaking hands with Atletico Ottawa guys, so I know playing under Diego Simeone could be the most frustrating thing you'd ever see. But maybe, but in reality, no. They also have players like Correa, Griezmann. They are going to lose Luis Suarez, but they got Morata coming back, so I don't know. And my gut right now is telling me we're going to see David in Lille for another season. Commented on the earlier post saying, unlikely his position in the national team would change regardless of which MLS club he plays for. I would argue that his star power would increase a bit playing at TFC. I would argue that as well. Because, I mean, from a Canadian perspective, I only started following the Rapids simply because Kaye joined them. Other than that, I thought they were a poor destination to end up, despite having a very good season. So, that's interesting. Scott Kennedy to St. Pauli. That'd be an interesting transfer. I'm assuming. I don't know about Kennedy. I'd like to see him, in the second division still. I mean, it'd be nice if he got a nice move up to the Bundesliga. It would be a dream for Scott Kennedy, but more than likely, we're going to see him playing in the second tier there. I don't really have a preference on team. Hopefully, one that's going to be pushing for the top of the table. I assume that Tomori could play for Canada. He is no longer eligible because Tomori has the reason Ugbo was is because he's never played at the international level for England in a competitive fixture. Tomori, I don't know. It's a gray area. I think Tomori technically can still play for Canada, but he would have to wait 3 years to do so. But he's not. Like Tomori's done. As soon as he plays, I think 2 more games or something like that, 2 more competitive games, then now he can no longer switch. But yeah, he will never play for the Canadian national team, though he was eligible to. Yeah, will Ronaldo end up at Bayern? Yeah, there's rumors going around for Jonathan David joining up, and now there's rumors at Ronaldo. I would be shocked if Ronaldo joins up with Bayern. And I'm pretty sure Oliver Kahn just commented on this. I just think I saw something on Twitter before going live, basically saying that with no disrespect to Cristiano Ronaldo and what he's accomplished in his career, but he just doesn't fit us at Bayern. So I would say Ronaldo's not going to end up at Bayern, but I'd say it's also pretty unlikely right now that Jonathan David does. I think those rumors came pretty hot, pretty quick, but I don't know if there's a lot of legs to them. I don't know. My gut's just telling me David's going to be with Lille for another season. And like I'm trying to get you guys to understand, it may not be the worst thing. Watch what Paulo Fonseca can do. Very, very good manager. Any thought on where or who Canada might get to play in the September window? That's a good question, guys. If you're still joining us on the stream, be sure to drop a like. Looking to do our transfer stream once a week. But I do like questions like this, too, because this is basically a fun thing to theorize about. So let me know down in the comments. Who do you think or who do you want to see Canada play in the September window? I ask this almost every time I go live because it's just fun. We butchered our last opportunity in the last window. So in my opinion, Canada needs to knock this out of the park. I think it's 2 matches in September, both in Europe. The European nations that are available are few. So I'm assuming it'll be an African, maybe a South American, Asian type team. Hopefully like a Senegal, Egypt, Algeria, matched up with maybe like a South Korea, maybe like a Ecuador. I don't really know, man. It doesn't look like we're gonna get a European team. I think there was one match they play in Qatar before. That will more than likely be the European match, but that's just what I'm hearing. Let me know what you guys think, because that's a fun question, and I'm curious to see who you guys would like to see Canada match up with. But more than likely, like I mentioned, the September window will not feature any European nations because they're all in Nations League. Richie Laryea, where would you like to see him go other than back to TFC? So I don't really want to see Richie backtrack to TFC just because, I mean, he wanted the European experience. He backed on himself. I don't want to see him just head back to Toronto. I do want to see him get starting minutes, and I think that he was never going to get that at Forest. Well, before they got hot, he was never going to get that at Forest. Remember, this was a team that started the season, I think, 0 wins, 1 draw, 7 losses, and they got promoted to the Premier League. So he joined, like Eustaquio, one of the hottest teams in the game. So he just couldn't find his way in. And now he's not going to really get back at the Premier League. He's just not. So he's probably going to get loaned out of the Championship. That's what I would assume. I don't know where in the Championship. Richie's very versatile. I mean, right back, left back, one of the wing backs. Like, he could be a useful player at a Championship level. I just don't know. Just don't really know who it could be. What player from Calgary could make the next move? I don't think it'll be Ali Musi. I just think, I mean, at that type of level, Pepple was a good one because of his age. I think he's 19 right now. I think Musi's a little bit older than that, so he's probably playing at the level. Maybe get a sniff a little bit at an MLS type level. I don't know. Even that I'm hesitant about, but I'd assume it's not really a Calgary player who's on loan there. But Krifi Yao for me is a player who has a future of potentially heading to Europe one day. Brym playing for Sparta in the Netherlands. I really like the bump up. What's your opinion on Brym? Huge, like a round of applause. If you guys watch the Canadian men's national team, well, now it's Canadians abroad since it went over to One Soccer. But when it started at Canadian men's national team players abroad on JJD TV, it's now Canadians abroad over on One Soccer. I covered Brym each and every week, and he was so much fun to cover. He had such a breakout year under FC Eindhoven. I was a little bit nervous because that was one of that team was really hot as well. That was a team that you might have expected to potentially get promoted. They fell short in the playoffs, but it didn't matter. Sparta came in there. They snapped them up. Now we get to see a Canadian playing in the Eredivisie, a league that I just think could suit development. So I'm really excited to see what he can do next season, and definitely deserve the move. And in my eyes, just gives him a big bright spot. If you're John Herdman seeing a player playing in that league, you're just like, yes, this does nothing but good. Now the fact that Brym got called in playing in the 2nd division, I'd find it hard to imagine that playing in the Eredivisie, and if he can continue with that form, that he's not going to be going to Qatar. Thoughts on, I got a couple questions on Liam Fraser and Liam Miller. Liam Miller, I mean, I like that he's playing in Basel. The injury, he's recovering. He'll be there for another season. He had a really good season. I think he'll build on that. Same, I'm assuming, can be said for Liam Fraser. He joined the 2nd division in Belgium. As you guys know, I wasn't crazy about the level. I think that the 2nd division in Belgium is probably just a little too low for me, but it doesn't look like he's going to move on from there. I think he's going to stay at Dienz for another season, and he'll be getting a lot of minutes. I think right now he's on the outside looking in for the national team, but there's no news. I'm assuming he'll be playing for Dienz next season, just like Liam Miller will be playing for Basel. Angie says, no way CR7 will end up at FC Bayern. No, I mean, there's a report that went out today as well that basically said that Bayern won't sign him because he doesn't really fit. I find those rumors were pretty fun for about 24 hours, but after that, I don't know. I don't see it likely. More than likely, I think Lewandowski is just going to stay. I just think they're going to be very, very firm with him. He's got one more. Yeah, I don't know. More CPL players to Europe would be nice, like Terran Campbell. I thought Terran Campbell and Hojarapur were going to head to the MLS. I was very surprised that they dumped Pacific and headed over to to Forge. Good pickups for Forge, but yeah, Terran Campbell is a talent as well. I think, again, the thing about Pepple and the reason that he's very desirable is because, one, he's on excellent form scoring goals, but he's 19. Terran Campbell, I believe, is 22. Let me just double check. So you start getting an age where that talent kind of, yeah, he's 23 years old, man. So like, I just feel like Terran Campbell's, yeah, I'd assume MLS would be kind of where he's looking, but maybe if he just has an unbelievable season, that could get some attention. But when your age starts increasing in a league like the CPL, that's when the interest kind of dies down, like from European clubs, like in a decent league, in my opinion. MLS is still it's still a possibility. Hercules Gomez argued that JD would play for Atletico Madrid due to his familiarity with playing in a low block for Canada. However, Canada mostly plays their style. Yeah, love Herc. I definitely listened to that podcast, it's podcast form how I watch it, of Football Americas. And I was just screaming into the phone when he made that argument. It's like, yeah, JD would love to play, or would be great for Atletico Madrid. He's used to that. It's like, okay, Herc, we played a low block against the US in that one match, and we won. It was strategic because we can outcoach Berhalter. Canada doesn't usually play like that. I think there's 2 or 3 times against Mexico where we took the game to them. Like, and remember that Gold Cup semifinal? Like, Mexico was holding on for dear life for the first half of the Azteco. We were dominating them, then they were dominating us towards the end. Like, a low block, in my opinion, isn't John Herdman's like go-to. I would argue that under Gorvinick, JD played a pretty decent low block. Chances were few and far between, but I think that just came from the player's inability to create for him. So I didn't totally agree with that point. I think Jonathan David would struggle in Atletico Madrid. I personally do. I just think that style takes so much concentration in an absolute lethal striker. Like a Luis Suarez would fit that system, and he hated playing there. I don't think it would do any good for David, but it is a system that, in terms of like a formation, like they like playing with that 2 striker, and I think if he had a big striker to play off of, kind of the way Griezmann played off like Diego Costa, I could see that, but they don't really have that anymore. They're losing, like Atletico Madrid's losing a bit of their identity. They've been switching back and forth between systems. They had a really frustrating season. I don't think Jonathan David walking into that environment, playing that type of style, would work for him, but moving to a club like Atletico Madrid is a massive step up from Lille, so I wouldn't be angry. I just should be very worried that he may not pull it off and be able to be that type of striker. I'd rather honestly go to like a Sevilla, but yeah, that's me. Another says the Netherlands, great development league. I agree. Angie says Denmark, not a bad one. Do you think that Christian Pulisic could be having a good season? Not at Chelsea. I think if he moves on from Chelsea, there's a chance he could have a good season. But yeah, no. I think his time at Chelsea is probably running low. The African teams have AFCON qualifiers, man. Yes, that is right. And that is honestly not ideal. It literally eliminates. Canada has 2 European countries and an African country. The European countries have the Nations League, and I forgot the African countries have AFCON qualifiers. So it's gonna be very difficult to see who Canada's gonna play. South America and Asia, unless I'm missing something, might be the way to go. But I didn't even know that. Let's look up Senegal, for example. See what their schedule is looking like. So their next matches are September 19th and September 27th. So I doubt they could fit. I don't know. They could maybe fit in another game in between there, the 19th and the 27th. Put one right in the middle, but I don't think they'd be very pressed to. And I don't know if this is going to be a 3-match type window. Most of the nations I've been seeing, like the European ones, have 2 scheduled. and it doesn't look like a third one's going to be an option. Colombia would be a good team. Ecuador would be a good team. South Korea, Japan. But I mean, I'm not looking at any of these schedules, so I mean, for all I know, that they could be booked up as well. South Korea and Ghana would be a good friendly, but I mean, like we just said, I guess Ghana maybe has. Let's see what Ghana's got. Because I don't know exactly how it works in terms of like if they can squeeze in another match or not, because they have the same matches. So the African teams looks like they all, or at least these ones, play on the September 19th and September 27th. So yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Canada promised us some good games, so we'll have to wait and see. And Ghana just picked up Inaki Williams, so that's a big pickup. And Lamptey, I think, as well, is going to commit. So Ghana's stacking up before this World Cup. I'll bet you Richie will end up in either Belgium or the Netherlands. I think that's a fair bet. I think Belgium, the Netherlands, or the championship. I think the championship is still pretty likely. Because, I mean, if you watch the few games that Richie played in, he had an impact. So I think that there's a decent chance that he could be looked at. But yeah, I would say if it's other than the championship, Belgium, Netherlands are two decent leagues. I just don't know what type of, I mean, Club Brugge is the dream, right? Buchanan, Laryea, come on. Makes sense. The US and Mexico have announced their September opponents. I'm getting nervous. I prefer Senegal and Brazil as opponents. Now, it doesn't look like we can get Senegal, but let's take a look at the US. Let's see who they're playing. So the US have 2 September friendlies. They have Japan and they have Saudi Arabia. I mean, those are 2 decent ones as well. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be just the 2. Who does Mexico got? Mexico has, they've 1 in August and then 2 in September. They have Paraguay in August, which will probably be an all-Mexican team, like from Liga Mexi. They have Peru and they have Colombia. Those are 2 really good friendlies as well. Like, it does look like we're going to be getting Asia and South America, but I'm just thinking, I mean, I don't know. I don't see Argentina or Brazil over there. That's a big dream, but that's probably a steep ask. Liam Fraser should get minutes in Belgium. He will. He played, I think, every single minute, basically, that was available to him playing in the 2nd division, he basically took on. David's price tag is way too high. Yeah, I don't think he'll go for that. I said somewhere in the mid-40s would be my guess, but JD will stay at Lille. I'm agreeing with you, man. And like I said, I also think it's not the bad thing. I don't want to look like an idiot, but I've strongly backed Paulo Fonseca. I think he's just an excellent manager. Gaultier, Fonseca, great managers for Jonathan David to learn under. Gorvnik was a waste of a year. Waste of a year. Jocelyn Gorvnik, I don't know how he landed that job. I think Lille were just really in trouble financially, and they just, yeah, I don't know. But it was a bad decision. He's not a good manager. Thoughts on Tyler Adams to Leeds? I don't know. What do you guys think the odds are Leeds get relegated with Tyler Adams, Aronson, and Jesse Marsch? I think it's likely. But yeah, I don't know. I think Tyler Adams is a good player. I think that Jesse Marsch really, really rates him. I was Jesse Marsch. I mean, he's being ballsy. He's already got that persona about him being an American in the Premier League. He did keep them from relegation, which was big. But now he's lost Rafina, replaced him with Aronson. He's lost Calvin Phillips, replaced him with Adams. He's got even more of that American, I guess, stress on him, just being American, recruiting Americans. I don't think it's doing him any favors, so he's got a lot of pressure, I think, building up on him. But he's very familiar with Tyler Adams. He really, really rates Tyler Adams, and he's a direct replacement for Calvin Phillips. So if Tyler Adams can do what he can, I think that he'll be a decent replacement. But I don't know, man. I think he's adding a lot of pressure to himself. But if you're an American, if you're a U.S. men's national team fan, you're watching every Leeds game. You got Jesse Marsch, Aronson, Tyler Adams. Like that's kind of like how us Canadians are maybe feeling if Richie Laryea joins up with Tejan and Laren, or if David joins up with Davies. So I don't know. If you're a U.S. men's national team fan, it's pretty cool, and I wish them the best. Canada played a low block against the U.S. because doing that was the easiest way to beat the U.S., who are the beasts in transition rather than possession. Glad I wasn't the only one disagreeing with Herc. Yeah, no, I know. I know. I was yelling at my phone. I was like, Herc, you're wrong. You're wrong, my man. I love you, but you're wrong. We out-tacked Berhalter because it was easy to do. He gave us an easy game plan, and we were, despite not having any possession, there was almost nothing coming from. Well, I mean, there was a couple decent saves, but you know what I mean. I mean, the match seemed pretty much in control, and I don't think it suits Jonathan David, in my opinion. I don't think that style would suit him. Kaye's the luckiest guy in the world. The places he's been mainly in the years he's been able to play domestically and are just going up. Who doesn't want to play for Canada in the best country? I mean, he was playing in California, which, I mean, I thought that was pretty nice. Marc-Anthony Kaye became the player he was at LAFC under Bob Bradley, and he looked good. He's a player that I kept an eye on. It's the reason I started liking LAFC. Always had a special little eye on them, and then they picked up Crepeau and Henry as well. But Marc-Anthony Kaye was a baller when he was there. He's still a baller. TFC has no good DP for Insigne. Clean house needed. Well, I say it's kind of a clean house. I mean, Pozuelo is going to enter Miami. I'm assuming Bernardeschi becomes in. He'll be the other DP along with Insigne. And I don't remember who their other DP is. Well, it's Salcedo right now. So if Salcedo leaves, then they're going to need another DP on top of that. So yeah, Insigne, Pozuelo, and Salcedo are the 3 DPs right now. It looks like 2 of the 3 could be leaving. This is definitely like a clean house type moment, but I think that's smart business, man. Like Pozuelo with his contract going down, getting some allocation money, freeing up a DP spot, getting his wages off the books, and then Pozuelo, I think going to Inter Miami, he's gonna have some fun there. And now if you can get Marc-Anthony Kaye in with Bernardeschi, I mean, now you got to figure out the Salcedo incident, but your things are looking up. You still need to probably find, I think, you got Crucito coming in as well, because that defense definitely needs some revamping. And just a more straightforward type system. JD should consider playing for Ajax in the Champions League. So that move won't happen. Ajax don't have that type of money to bring in someone like Jonathan David. It's not really like the profile of player that they're going to bring in. And JD doesn't want to play for Ajax. Jonathan David basically said, I want to go to like a Bayern, Juve, Liverpool, AC Milan, like even Napoli type caliber of team, or I don't want to move. So I think right now he's not going to move. I just don't know the options there from. In November, before the tournament begins, I see Canada playing the host nation Qatar. I don't know about that. I would hope it would be a European team or even an African team, a team that's in our group. We should be playing European nations. We should be playing African nations. And more than likely, the September window is looking like we're going to be playing Asian and potentially South American, which means that one, I think it's one game in November before the tournament begins. I'm hoping it's going to be a European nation or an African nation. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm thinking. But the Canadian Soccer Association finds ways to surprise us. Best bet, one mediocre team and one team better than us based on ratings. Yeah. JD should consider playing with Fiorentina. They need a decent striker. Again, I don't think Fiorentina can afford that type of money. And I think that's just too low of a caliber. There's 2 things here. Jonathan David is rumored to be around, or what Lille want is around 50 million euro. You'd imagine if any type of negotiation, it could be lowered to like 45, but that's still a crap load of money that a team like Fiorentina just doesn't have. And then you got to be a team that David wants to join, which it's not a team like Fiorentina. It's not a team like Ajax. It's one of the big hitters in the world. But yeah, so any update on Corbiano? I haven't heard anything. Kind of hope he gets a loan move to a championship club though. Thoughts on the Canadian U20 performance? Brutal. Like, wasn't a good tournament, and we didn't deserve anything from it. But I mean, if you look at the final, the Dominican Republic are going to the U20 World Cup and they're going to the Olympics, and they lost 6-0 in the finals to the US. The best of the rest, because the US deserved that tournament and then some. The best of the rest was there to be played. Now, I'm not saying that if Canada would have even been able to beat Guatemala, if we could have took out Mexico. But you'd imagine maybe if we got lucky like Guatemala or played a good type of system or pulled something off to be able to take down Mexico, probably be able to take down Dominican. I don't know, but it's hard to imagine because that was such a disappointing tournament. We didn't deserve to walk away with anything, and we didn't. But I don't know. In the back of my mind, it's like Dominican Republic are going to the Olympics, and they just lost 6-0 to the U.S. So I don't know, man. Hey, Josh, I've heard Germany plays a friendly against a weak side right before the World Cup. So let their stars score a bunch of goals, feel good about themselves. Should Canada be thinking about doing that? No. In my opinion, no. In my opinion, we should be playing a decent European or African side because we are playing two top European nations, Belgium and Croatia, and then we're also playing a very good African side in Morocco. We haven't played one of those, a team from that region ever. Well, not ever, but not since we've basically had this run to go into the World Cup. And we've butchered our last window. This next upcoming window in September, because of the AFCON, because of the European Nations League, it looks like we're going to be playing, like I said, probably like a team from South America and probably Asia, maybe two from Asia, maybe two from South America. I don't know, but you're going to assume it's going to be those two, or maybe it's one, because again, we might butcher another window. So in my opinion, you need good, decent practice. I wouldn't say playing Germany would be the best idea, even though, hey, it's probably the caliber we're going to see. But like a Poland, like I said, like a Poland would be fantastic. A Senegal, like get a good team that you're obviously not going to reach and play for early on. Like Germany would be unlikely because if we move on, we could potentially play them in the knockouts. The Netherlands could be maybe even one. They're a really tough team. I just think someone from Europe or someone from Africa has to be the goal for that final friendly in November. Otherwise, you're just not going to play them. And if you play a really weak European side, like, I mean, I don't know. Not even that Albania is that weak, but let's just use them as an example. Like, that's not the end of the world, but I'd still like to maybe see it being a country going to the World Cup. Or like an Algeria type team or a Norway type team. Like a very competent team that will give Canada a good run for its money. I wonder what Marsch did to get Adams on board. I would say fighting relegation at Leeds instead of playing Champions League at Leipzig is a serious step down. Well, Tedesco doesn't rate him, so I think I saw a stat. He played 7 games under Marsch, and Marsch got sacked in December, and then he played less than that under Tedesco for the remainder of the year. So, I mean, yeah, to me, it's kind of an easy move for Tyler Adams. Tedesco doesn't rate him, doesn't want him, and he's going back to a manager that is loving him playing in the top league in the world. And for players, like even Kyle Laryea came out and said it. Kyle Laryea said, I want one of two things. I want to play Champions League or I want to play in the Premier League. So a lot of players have that mindset. They playing at the top level consistently week in, week out, which I think is a bit of an I don't know. I think there's a lot, like the top 5 leagues I think are all pretty competent leagues, but the Premier League for a lot of players is the goal. And then after that, it comes Champions League. So Kyle Laryea got his goal. He's playing for Club Brugge in the Champions League, and I guess Tyler Adams got his goal and he's playing in the Prem. JD is reported to be interested in teams that would play in the Champions League. Yep. I would say like AC Milan, Juve, Napoli, and I guess Bayern, but you know, don't know if Bayern's looking likely anymore. Panama is looking for games to play. Yeah, we don't need to play Panama or Iran anymore. we lost that. Ajax just gave Tottenham 32 million euros for Bergwijn. Yeah, but it's a little different because he is from the Netherlands. Ajax like stocking up on Dutch players. You've seen a lot of talented Dutch players return to Ajax. I wouldn't have been surprised if it didn't work out for Donny van de Beek in the next year or two. He could be heading back to Ajax. Just kind of what they do. But again, 32 million up to 50 is a big difference still. It's literally double. I feel like you guys are missing the point. Jonathan, I mean, they're playing Champions League. No. All right. So Jonathan David made it very clear, guys. And I think you're just poking fun at me, but, you know, it's fair. Jonathan David doesn't want to just play Champions League. If Jonathan David wants to leave Lille, it will be to a Bayern Munich, Juventus, AC Milan, maybe Atletico Madrid, one of the top 6 in the Prem. That's the type of team he wants to go to. Unfortunately, Frankfurt and Celtic aren't an option for Jonathan David, and also there's the 50 million price tag. Frankfurt and Celtic cannot afford that player. So picture a team that can spend 50 mil, and Ajax it's a decent point because he, like you said, he spent 32 mil on Bergwijn. Still very different. 32 is a lot less than 50, and Bergwijn's Dutch. He wants to go back. There's that there, but it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be one of the top 6 teams from the Prem. It's going to be probably just Bayern out of the Bundesliga who could be interested. Can maybe probably just be Atletico out of the La Liga. It would be Madrid or Barca, but I doubt they're interested, and Barca can't afford anything. In Serie A, I think the top 4 have all have options out of that. And in Liga, it would just be PSG, which they're not going to sign him. So, yeah, JD to Salzburg. There you go. You guys get it. Yeah, Salzburg can. But more than likely, like I mentioned, I think Jonathan David is going to be at Lille for one more season. Wish they'd hurry up and announce the opponents already. Yeah, I agree. I don't know who it's going to be, man. But looking at the U.S. and looking at Mexico, I mean, the U.S. has 1 South American and 1 Asian, and Mexico has 2 from CONMEBOL. So, if you put 2 and 2 together, we're probably going to get some clubs like that. We might even get a Peru. I didn't look at their schedule, but we might even get some of the teams that are already playing there. So the option is to it's kind of slimmed down, but we'd imagine it's going to be one of those. JD isn't ready for it. I think he's ready to move on, but it's got to be to the right project. And I think he knows that. I think with a competent manager coming in, Paulo Fonseca, I think that he's a little relaxed about his future. He wants that deal. I mean, who knows, man? I mean, those pictures of Atletico Madrid, you never know. But I think right now he's leaning towards probably staying if the right project doesn't come. JD is too slow for the Premiership. I wouldn't say that. I mean, I don't think Bobby Firmino is an overly fast player, and he had an excellent time. And he's obviously a different player than Jonathan David. But Jonathan David is not a slow player. I think he'd be fine in the Premiership, but I think it'd have to be in a very specific type of style. Like, I don't think him going to Arsenal in a 4-2-3-1, playing where Gabriel Jesus is going to be playing. Like, Gabriel Jesus to me is similar to Jonathan David. I don't know if that's going to be I don't think that's going to be ideal. Like, I would be surprised if Gabriel Jesus scores like 15 plus goals, but I think there's an option there for him to play for sure. I just don't know which club it would be. Could Roma or Atalanta play the 50 million? I doubt it. Atalanta definitely no. Roma maybe if they get more investment in the club, but I mean, they have Tammy Abraham, so I mean, if they sell Tammy Abraham, he could have maybe been an option there. But the Roma one's it's a maybe, because I don't know, they don't usually spend that type of money, and I wouldn't imagine that they would. But if they would have sold Tammy Abraham, and I think they have American investors, so there could have been an option there. But no, in reality, and I still don't think Roma's a high enough standard of club for what Jonathan David is looking for. And this is good stuff coming from like his camp. Like I can't speak too much on it. I think he wants to go to a team that will be regularly competing for the Champions League in a way. So, yeah. All right, guys, we're going to wrap that up for today. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Let me know if you guys like this. Just put a W in the chat right now. Do you like these weekly Canadian National Team transfer talks streams? Because if you guys like them, I will continue to obviously do them. And I'm planning on doing them throughout the summer, because hopefully there's going to be a lot more news. Hopefully Laryea, maybe David, even a Daniel Henry getting moved is fine with me. So just let me know. Put a W in the chat if you guys like this. And on your way out, if you could be so kind, drop a like on the stream. Drop a sub as you guys are new here. And yeah, we'll see you guys sometime next week for another stream. So appreciate you guys tuning in. I see a lot of W's on the way out, so that's fantastic. Take care, friends, and we'll talk to you guys soon. See ya.